You want a manager to talk to me, you bring your manager here. If you want to talk to me, you bring your manager here, you idiot, or go speak Chinese with your other staff and shit talk me somewhere else.
I remember growing up being, called a chink.
Wow, you are so pretty for a Chinese girl.
Yeah, I hate f***ing Chinese.
Une camarade dans ma classe a fait comme ça.
Where did you learn how to drive? Go back to your own country.
Go back to where you're from.
You don't know a damn thing. Go back to China where you belong.
Someone called me a gook once, and I didn't even know what that was.
Shut up and get out of here, you idiot. Well, I'm Canadian and you're not.
I was like, no, you need to speak English.
Shut up.
Go back to your country.
China lady. Shut up. Fucking idiot.
À Vancouver, 20% de la population est d'origine ethnique chinoise. Quand je suis déménagée ici, j'ai vite remarqué qu'il y avait un racisme décomplexé à l'endroit des Chinois. Ce que beaucoup de gens oublient, c'est que les Chinois font partie de la Colombie-Britannique depuis sa création en 1858. Pour confirmer si mes impressions étaient bonnes, on est allé à la rencontre de Sino-Canadiens.
So this is Maxim's. I call it a Chinatown institution. Come on in. Let's see. Oh, a lot of these ones are these are knots.
Michael Tan est très impliqué dans la communauté. Il fait notamment du bénévolat dans une maison pour aînés chinois. Des commentaires racistes, il me dit en entendre tout le temps. Il n'est pas le seul. Le pire, selon lui, c'est qu'on finit par s'y habituer.
I'm never surprised when I hear these things. You learn to deal with it. I wish people didn't have to learn how to do that. But I think the majority of people that face racism, they walk around as a visible minority. You learn to deal with it, and it's like, oh, it's just a joke, and you downplay it because that's all you can do. A lot of people aren't comfortable with confronting it, and sometimes you pretend that you didn't hear it.
Have you done that?
Have I heard that and pretend I didn't hear it? Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. It's like.
My friend is over there. Hey, Judah! Hi. I love your backpack. It looks great on you.
Kimberly Wong est loin d'être immigrante. Ses ancêtres chinois sont arrivés au Canada pour construire le chemin de fer. Elle est donc la 5e génération à vivre en Colombie-Britannique. Pourtant, les remarques désobligeantes sur ses origines ethniques font partie de son quotidien.
Yeah, microaggressions occur on a daily basis for every racialized person. And I think they're called microaggressions not because they are tiny, but because they happen on a person-to-person basis, right? Just somebody comes up to you and is like, wow, you are so pretty for a Chinese girl. Or, wow, your English is so great. Things like that hurt a little bit, but are hard to place on a scale of oppression. My mom and my dad, for example, talk about keeping your head down, working hard, and rising above all of the kind of blatant racism that they experienced when they were younger. That doesn't suit me anymore. I'm the type of person who will want to approach that head on.
It gets tiring to tell the same story again and again and again, as if each time it's new and a surprise.
Lui, c'est Henry Wu. C'est un historien à l'Université de la Colombie-Britannique qui se spécialise en migration asiatique en Amérique du Nord. Quand je l'ai contacté, c'est comme si je pouvais voir ses yeux rouler au téléphone. Parce que ce qui l'exaspère, c'est l'amnésie générale des Canadiens par rapport au traitement réservé aux Chinois depuis le début de la création du pays.
I've been teaching at University of British Columbia now for 16 years, and every year I'll get a call from someone in the media saying, can you tell us the history of anti-Chinese, racism in Canada? Americans are very aware of the history of slavery, of racism, and the ways in which white supremacy operated. In Canada, there's always constantly this surprise, and I think that is actually at the heart of how Canada has erased a lot of the parts of its history, the colonial past.
Bon, puisqu'on parle d'histoire, c'est le moment de la minute historique. En 1881, on construit le chemin de fer du Canadien Pacifique qui va finalement relier la Colombie-Britannique au Canada. Environ 7000 travailleurs chinois œuvrent dans des conditions dangereuses. Ils sont moins bien payés que les ouvriers blancs et c'est plus facile de les faire venir d'Asie parce que les Rocheuses bloquent le chemin. Dès la fin de la construction du chemin de fer en 1885, le Canada adopte une loi pour freiner l'immigration chinoise. Comment? En imposant une taxe d'entrée. Si t'es chinois, tu dois payer pour immigrer au pays. En 1923, le Canada interdit l'entrée d'immigrants chinois. Une loi qui va seulement être abolie en 1947. En 2006, le gouvernement de Stephen Harper présente ses excuses à la communauté chinoise pour toutes ses politiques.
We shouldn't be surprised that this fear of Chinese has reared its ugly head, because it's reared its ugly head a lot over our history as a nation.
C'est pas surprenant, à son avis, de voir une montée raciste contre les Chinois en lien avec le coronavirus.
The most dangerous thing historically in any contagion is fear. When you're afraid of other people and you start to act out of fear of others, that's actually the worst thing. That's what causes societal breakdown.
D'ailleurs, la police de Vancouver dit avoir noté une augmentation des crimes haineux envers les Asiatiques depuis le mois de mars. Et au-delà des crimes, il y a des commentaires déplacés et répétitifs.
You know, someone I'm very close to, they were at work, they were coughing, and their manager was very much, you know, a very serious face to them. It's like, is that coronavirus?
It's due in part a lot because it's been racialized, this virus.
Made in China, une drag queen en vogue à Vancouver, en veut à la couverture médiatique de nourrir des préjugés contre les Chinois.
The BC province had a headline in red font, big as the page, China virus. If that isn't kindling for racism, then I don't know what is, you know. You're now actively shaping people's perceptions of other people in a way that is so unnecessary, and it isn't just reporting. That is a very subjective standpoint to take.
Un autre point de tension depuis des années en Colombie-Britannique, c'est la crise immobilière.
Le marché de l'immobilier est très particulier à Vancouver. Les maisons se vendent plus cher que ce que demandent les gens.
One of the more popular theories, foreign owners are to blame.
Chinese immigration.
Les prix grimpent au-delà de l'inflation depuis des décennies.
Everybody wants to move here now.
Boom, boom, boom. Vancouver, Vancouver.
Turning the city into their personal playground.
On s'en va rencontrer Rose Wu. Rose a écrit un article dans un magazine en ligne l'année passée. Elle dit que parce qu'elle est sino-canadienne, on l'accuse de la crise immobilière et elle est vraiment tannée de ça. Et elle va nous parler du backlash assez intense que son article a reçu.
Like this guy Olamide, he was like replying to threads for so long.
Oh my God, there's a lot of comments.
Yeah. Like
there's some that says thank you for writing about this. Though.
Yeah. Definitely, like, there was a lot of support as well. It was very polarized, and but as with like social media, usually the negativity is amplified.
En fait, Rose écrit qu'elle non plus, même si elle est sino-canadienne, elle peut pas se permettre d'acheter une maison à Vancouver. Le problème pour elle, c'est pas l'origine ethnique des gens, mais plutôt l'absence de mécanismes pour freiner la spéculation et la hausse du prix des maisons.
One of the things in my article that really shocked me was the amount of backlash from people immediately because I talked about race and identity. They're like, why are you coming here and like buying up our housing? Like, go back to where you're from. And that's hurtful because I'm from here. I realized that housing growing up has been a really difficult part of my identity. And not only in like where I lived, but also just like the narrative around Chinese foreign investments into Vancouver. It definitely at times made me feel ashamed of my identity.
How do you feel you've dealt with it? From being ashamed as a teenager to now?
I think now I'm just trying to explore more of my roots. I don't really want the media narratives and like the public dialogue over these things to like influence the way I view my culture. Yeah, I think I'm just trying to like figure things out for myself.
I remember it was my first night doing drag. Another queer Asian person came up to me and they were very genuinely like, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anyone like be so like Chinese on stage.
S'approprier son identité chinoise, c'est ce qu'a fait Candle. La création de Made in China est presque devenue un geste militant.
I chose to embrace my Chineseness in my drag performance. I think mostly because there was a huge void of cultural, emotional stories being told. I thought, I guess, if I'm going to do this, then I wanted to say something. You know, I want it to be not just for me. I want it to be for other people as well. So it was a chance for me to really explore what it meant to be Chinese to me, and explore that history and ancestry, and gain a deeper understanding and connection to my roots. Yeah.
Ses racines, il les considère comme un trait d'union, puisqu'il est né ici d'une mère acadienne et d'un père chinois.
I really resonate with the idea of the hyphen. For example, in my case, I'm never going to be white enough to be white, and I'm never going to be Chinese enough to be Chinese. And I see that also in terms of queerness, because queerness is on such a spectrum, you know, not quite masculine and not quite feminine.
And I'm curious, what would you tell the younger version of yourself about his Chineseness?
I would tell the younger version of myself, I think I would just, grab them by the head and look at yourself in the mirror, and not to be ashamed of it or afraid of it.
La honte d'être chinois, c'est une blessure commune chez les gens que j'ai rencontrés. Andrew, un étudiant impliqué dans plusieurs projets pour la justice sociale, en garde un souvenir amer.
Quand j'étais enfant, des fois, je voulais être blanc. Je trouvais ça difficile d'être chinois, avoir une langue qui est tellement difficile d'apprendre, avoir une culture dont on se moque.
I think it's difficult for a lot of non-white people in Canada. And there's this sense that you are an immigrant. Even if you're born here, you will get asked questions like, where are you from? If you say I was born in Sudbury, or if I was born in, Vancouver, they say, well, but where are you really from?
Je peux pas vraiment changer ma race. Donc, mieux d'être à l'aise dans ma peau que de vouloir être autre chose.
But I think younger generations growing up here, they try very hard often to overcompensate. So if other people are playing hockey, you're going to play hockey, and you're going to fit in. That can be debilitating too, and it can get so tiring. If you're never going to accept me, I'm going to actually go the other way and prove that I don't belong.
We've been here for so long. We're the most Canadian there is. We're just as Canadian as blah. But who are we rising up to? Who are we trying to impress?
Pour le prochain reportage de notre dossier Coexister, on va en Estrie, au Québec, où l'arrivée des néo-ruraux crée certaines frictions.
On arrive avec nos foulards, nos lunettes rondes, on arrive avec nos idées.
Quand on est à Montréal, on a tout. Quand on est à Richmond, on a presque tout. C'est le presque qui fatigue quand on le bat.